whole world at our feet, watching seasons change. Our roads were lined with adventure, mountains in the way couldn't keep us from the sea. Here we stand, open arms. This is home where we are, ever strong in the world that we made. I
good evening everyone. Hello, hello. Let's do it maybe like this. Perfect. So, do let me know on the chat if you can hear me, please. Though I'm going to actually test that on YouTube as well, if that works. Yeah, I think it works, and I think the camera frame rate is fine. So, first of all, sorry for the delay with starting the stream, but well, we're here, so let's go. Okay, today's moderator is going to be Foxtrot Charlie. Foxtrot, thank you for being here. Folks, if you have any questions, then ideally write on YouTube chat. Our bot doesn't work yet because it didn't have time to finish the last part of the system, basically. So just ask the question and Foxtrot Charlie will make sure that the question gets to me. Perfect. So today's topic is something that I guess, like I said ages ago, that I'm going to do finally one day, and that day is here, meaning that, yeah, let's learn Rust, or rather, I am going to learn Rust, and you are going to, I don't know, what are you going to do? Just like, the video is a bit delayed. I don't think that's going to be problematic because we're mostly going to look at code today. That's kind of weird though. Okay, I will, you know what? I'm going to restart the camera because that worked last time, so it should work this time as well, right? Okay, we'll see if this worked. If it didn't work, then I don't know. But again, it shouldn't be super problematic today. So yeah, we are going to learn Rust, and by that I mean I will learn Rust. Now, there is like one reason I wanted to, well, a couple of reasons actually I wanted to make this stream. First of all, it might be interesting content to some people. Like if some people want to learn Rust but never had the opportunity, well, you can watch somebody struggle with that and maybe not make the same mistakes I'm going to make, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to make quite a lot of mistakes. So that's one reason. The other reason is like you also will be able to see how I struggle with Rust, meaning that you'll see that, yeah, you're not alone with, you know, programming is hard basically at the end of the day. So that's going to be fun basically. But also over the years, over a very long career, I have acquired specific skills when it comes to learning programming languages, because I'm, as you know, basically I've been programming since I'm 6, and which kind of means like most of my life, almost all of my life actually. And through the years, I've learned and I've written in multiple programming languages. Like I probably forgotten languages, like more programming languages that I was really fluent in and really good in than a lot of programmers know. So yeah, so now it's time to learn another one, and it's going to be Rust, because yeah, it's super popular. So okay, git clap once to prove delay. I'm going to clap. People in with headphones, please take them off. Okay, it's safe to put them back on now. Cool. At the end of the day, after this video series basically is like finished and I kinda feel competent in Rust, I think I'm going to ask an editor to do a short video of everything, basically with the key points of learning, and which I hope will also help some folks basically to pick up the techniques, at least, which I will be using, because I will be using, well, techniques which work for me, right? Which I know, which I've like created over the years, or learned from somebody over the years, or just like weird stuff which I do, or maybe pretty normal stuff at the end of the day as well. 1 second delay. Wow, that's annoying. Yeah. So that's basically the plan. Now, this isn't going to be a super exciting and interesting series, and I'm going to do it a little bit different, because like learning Rust one time every week just doesn't make sense. So instead what's going to happen is I'm going to stream maybe every day, maybe every second day, and at least like sometime, like 30 minutes, 2 hours, that's going to be likely an impromptu stream, basically just like suddenly appearing on YouTube with me sitting and learning Rust. Because yeah, again, like this shouldn't be a prolonged period, it should be rather compressed, especially if I want to go to a decent competency level rather fast. So that kind of means that from time to time I will also be doing other topics, so that like I'll try to make other topics like once every week, once every 2 weeks, so it's not like super boring. There's some other content as there, but that's basically the idea. Now I know also that a lot of people on watching my streams and like watching the replays, like the videos after the recordings, this is the word I was looking for, the recordings of the live streams later on, I know that a lot of people speak Rust, or rather program in Rust. So if you have any hints, any things, like any hints, any pro tips, any like you want to point out a mistake I made, please do that, absolutely. And I'm going to actually also like that's another reason I wanted to make this learning process on a live stream, is to learn from you folks, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot I can learn from you as well. Perfect. So I guess we can start, and I'm going to start as I guess I'm also going to give you a glimpse of like how I usually do things. So the way I do things usually is I start with a new drive folder and I create a new documents for notes. So let's do that. Okay, and this is like learning Rust. Now I honestly don't know any Rust. Like I've written in Rust for 1 hour 1 year ago, and I've seen Rust on some CTF challenges, and that's it. So I honestly, like, if you tell me now, write hello world, I cannot. I have no idea. I don't know how to do it. I barely remember, but there are some cargoes, and I think Rust C was the name of the compiler. Which kind of brings us to an interesting question: is do I even have the compiler installed, or do I have to install it? So let's see, Rust C. Okay, I have a Rust compiler. That's already good. Now, what version do I have? Because I don't think I'm going to do anything weird today, which would require to have like a super new version. Well, this one is 1 year old. I think Rust is from what I know, Rust is a language which changes frequently, but maybe 1 year isn't that terrible. So we'll see. Okay, cool. Now, basic settings for documents, page setup, pageless, because I don't want to be bothered with pages. And I think that's it. Do I have, let me add Fira code, I guess, as the font. Fira code, Fira mono, Fira code. Let's go Fira code. Cool, and I can make this a little bit bigger as well, so that it's more visible when I code something. I'll rather write something here. Perfect. So question number 1 is like the usual ways I would go about it is like when I learn something is I find the official documentation. Which is going to be like Rust official documentation, and yeah, this sounds good. Learn, perfect. Yeah, but I need documentation. I don't. Yeah. Here we go. The standard cargo book. Yeah, but this is good. This is actually good. Is this like, can I link directly to this section somehow? Documentation. Yeah. Perfect. No, they didn't do. Oh, section learn use. Perfect. Learn dash use. Wait, what? Because I cannot. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to do this, like, let's make a section called links and do. There might be like a better site later, which I find, but for now let's go with this. Then there's a standard library, which is cool, that might be useful. std. Oh, it's, yeah, basic settings, preferences. Please don't capitalize words, thank you, and don't use smart quotes either, because for programming that's just going to mess up my syntax. For copy pasting that will be terrible. Okay, then what I would need is, that will come in handy later, but I'm going to already search for it. Rust, ABNP. IBNF, obviously. ABNF, there we go. Okay. Complete streaming. Wow, that's interesting. Actually, they have. Where's the? I need like the. So ABNF is the abstract notation format. Basically, this is for like when you have syntax rules for a compiler. They usually come in a form of an ABNF notation. I guess like here there might be some example of. Yeah, this is basically ABNF notation. And when I start struggling with some syntax, this is like the documentation where I can fall back to. I can take a look at the ABNF notation basically to figure out. So Rust ABNF, but where are... I don't want a parser. I want the actual language. Rust language. Visual syntax, maybe? That might be syntax, but that's a book. Guide to Rust syntax statements, but yeah, I need an official notation. That might be something which I need to find later. I don't want to spend too much time Googling today. I want to also do some syntax and semantics. Okay, variable, yeah. This, I'm not sure how old is Rust 1.5. I'm not going to use this yet. Okay, complete. But where's the like higher level stuff? Yeah, I think I'm going to need to look for that later. So let's stick with that for now. Now I have the compiler. The compiler should work. I have absolutely no idea what's the structure of the project. So let's go to step number 2. Now the obvious thing is like to check the... yeah, I know there's a delay between the mic and the camera. I don't know if I can easily fix it. Let me try again to restart the camera. Contrast. Yeah. Oh, and I see that like... I think that broke the camera settings. Let's fix it. Okay, cool. Where's the delay here? Properties. Okay. Advanced audio properties, balance. Where's the delay? Sync offset. Okay, I'm going to try to sync a little bit. Like 100 milliseconds to the future. Do let me know if this improved anything or if it actually made things worse. If it improved, then I'm going to go the same direction, otherwise. Yeah. Okay, so how to start a Rust project? Well, first of all, I think I would need to... I don't really want to write a hello world, but I think that's going to be unavoidable because I... yeah, so let's find hello world. Perfect. Rust by example sounds good. Rust C. Okay, this looks good. Now where am I? I'm in the Rust directory. Okay. Hello world. So let's just go here and let's do subl. And this is basically only for the compiler to check if the compiler works. Okay, can I hide the sidebar? Yeah, okay, that's good. So, now I'm not going to copy stuff, I am going to code it. So there are a lot of comments, the comments look typical like in other stuff. Print ln, this exclamation mark is already bothering me, I don't know what is that. Otherwise, yeah, pretty... So far the syntax doesn't look weird, that's fine. So let's see Rust C, if I can just compile it like that. Something happened and it got hello and it works. Okay, so the compiler works, so I'm happy with that. Now let's do a different thing which I usually do. I see on the chat that you write that I do cargo new. I should do cargo new something. Let's see, cargo new ASDF. What does this do? And this created a package. Oh, and there's like the cargo tunnel. Let's see what's this. Ironbound, thank you for telling me. As I told you folks, I do remember that cargo is a package packaging system for Rust. This is all I know. So there's a package name. This is pretty similar to what happens when you, with node, to do npm init, I believe. Version, I remember that Rust is using the, what's it called? I don't remember the official name. Something versioning. Canonical versioning? No, there's something else. You can tell me on the chat basically what it is. And the idea there is that semantic versioning. Perfect. Thank you very much, Strong, on the chat. So the idea behind like semantic versioning at the end of the day is that if you change the lowest number, then that shouldn't break anything. It's just a fix. If you change this number, I think that you can like add new features, but not really break anything. And I think if you change this number, you can break everything. Like speaking of backwards compatibility, this was explained to me at length by one of the friends who actually tried to convert me to Rust like 8 years ago. I think that was ish, or maybe 7. Well, something like that. Okay, so this looks pretty... I don't know actually, I honestly never used TOML. This looks a lot like ini files from Windows, except that like in ini files you had semicolons. So this is basically what's going to happen a lot with what I'm doing, is I will draw analogies to what I already know and try to, by using these analogies, kind of form Rust in my head. Is like, because Rust is going to likely be like using a bit of this, something similar to that, and so on and so forth, and also bring a couple of new concepts as well. Okay, I see it already initialized like Git. Is anything there? Git log. Does not have any commits. Okay, and then there's a source directory where, oh, we already get something. What's here? Oh, and we get like a print, like, yeah, a hello world. Perfect. So I didn't even have to write this. Apparently I could just do, what was it? Cargo new, right? And then I would get, hello world. Okay, so let me make a note on that. Go new project name. I don't even have to write an explanation for this. This is just like super obvious what this is going to be. Rust C. How do I compile like file rs? How do I compile with cargo? That's a great question. So how to compile Rust project with cargo? Cargo build. Well, okay, I could have just like guessed that one. Cargo build. If you're wondering what's how to is ChatGPT, just linked from command line, and it's prefixed. Like the question to ChatGPT is like, in Ubuntu on command line, how do you do something? So yeah, this is I'm going to use ChatGPT probably quite a lot as well. It's a really useful tool. So let's go here again. Let's try this cargo build. Okay, it's that's nice. Okay. And it compiled, oh, and it's created a new directory. There's like a directory, sorry, there's a file called log, which, if the analogy to our packaging system holds, is just going to be a snapshot of the packages, of the dependencies which are being used when I compiled this, basically. Automatically generated by cargo, not intended for manual editing. So I'm guessing this is used for like, when doing a build, maybe for reproducible builds, maybe? I don't know, I don't need to check. Okay, cache dir tag. What are you? Yeah, I know this is not really relevant to the language itself, but I am curious. Hex dump. -c. Are you even are you a binary file? No, that's not a binary file. It's some signatures of something like this file is a cache directory tag created by cargo. Okay. Then we have, wait, what's this? Some JSON stuff. Let's see what's there. JLS. Okay. JLS is a really cool tool for browsing. JSON, as you can see. Cool. So there are outputs. Okay, there's a fingerprint, which is like apparently a largish number. Is that a timestamp? Is that a Unix timestamp? What's the current time? No, current Unix time is a little bit ahead of this. Does this like, is this, oh, I don't remember, how do I copy from here? Whatever, I'm not as curious, that might be just like some hash or something. Okay, there are outputs. What's the output? Success true, status code 0, and then there's like some output from a compiler. Success false, exit, okay, and this is like unstable on this platform. True, and then I have absolutely no idea what this is. Okay, that's interesting. Well, yeah, I thought this isn't going to be more readable. Not sure how important this is. It might, maybe for debugging I need it. Okay, apparently cargo build created a debug build, and in the debug build I have a pretty large ASDF file. So ASDF hello world. Okay, this works. Then I have .d. What are you, ASDF.d? That's it. Okay. It's just a. Is this a it's not a symlink? No, I see it's not a symlink. It's just a path to what I've built, right? Yeah. So that just tells me that the binary was created based on this executable, source code. Then I have a cargo log, which is empty. Then I have a build directory, which has apparently nothing. I have a deps directory, which has apparently something. But this is just the binary. I think these are just the same files as like here. Like, no, this isn't. What are you? Up. Okay, it's basically the same. Then examples. Why is there an example? An incremental. That's, I'm guessing, for incremental builds something. Okay, no idea what's here. Okay. Oh, .o files. Are these just like object files? Yeah. That's an object file. Cool. So. Work product. That's a bin file. Okay. I'm curious what's going on here. When I'll be at some point I will be playing with reverse engineering Rust, and I might be looking at this a little bit more. Currently, yeah, this is like, I don't know, either a random value or some hash or a Bitcoin wallet number, I don't know. But well, I guess we can see object dump -a -x actually, and let's see what's here. So we have typical sections. It even has like exception handling frames for C++ for whatever reason. Maybe Rust is just reusing the same section names. Then it has core format arguments, new standard I/O. Is this, by the way, what kind of mangling is this? How do I, like, for example, when I have this, it's just like, this is a weird mangling. I wonder what kind of mangling for names is Rust using. So how to mangle Rust function name. Rust filled. Yeah, for C++, but C++ filled, so that makes sense. Oh, and I don't have it. Sudo apt install Rust filled. Come on, I need. I'm probably never going to use this package after installing it, but let's go. So go, okay, and this name. Yeah. That's basically unmangling. It's like the format seems pretty similar to how the C++ mangling works. If you don't know what the mangling was basically like, because at least in C++, I have no idea about Rust, but in C++, if you can have multiple functions with the same name but different parameters. Now, when a linker would get these different functions just by the name, the linker could just think like this is the same function, there's a duplication, I have no idea what's going on. Therefore, the compiler has to use a special, has to format the name in a special way. And the name is basically like mangled, like this, which means that the parameters and the name and like the namespace and maybe the class and some other stuff are taken and serialized. So this is a serialization format at the end of the day. So here, for example, I have no idea what this is, but this might be a namespace, which is like 3 characters, and then we have std, and this is the namespace 3 characters. Then we have 2, which I guess like is another namespace, and like rt. And then we have 10, which is another string, I guess, which is lang start. So yeah, this is basically the whole namespace. I have no idea what's this 17, and this I guess is the 17 thing, or maybe the whole thing even. I have no idea what's this, but it's maybe some hash or identifier or something. But yeah, this looks really similar to C++, but will come in, like, be important later when I look more into debugging, when I look more into... that's a great question. How do I debug even Rust? Can I work with GDB, or is that like how to debug Rust? Rust GDB. Okay, so Rust apparently has a GDB version. So can we, let's get out of this directory to here and do Rust GDB ASDF. Okay, so that's just a GDB basically with some PwnDBG is running. So that's my default. Okay, what are you? Which Rust GDB? What are you even doing? File. This is a binary. Okay, so this is a binary, but for whatever reason, it's actually like executing. So it might be like a custom build of GDB or something like that. Interesting. Now, if I run it, it works. Can I just break main? Okay, that works as well. Run it. And this are some this assemble main. Okay, Rust debug script section, blah blah blah. Okay, but we are not reverse engineering Rust today. Today I am learning how to write in Rust. That being said, debugging in commands and special sections for debugging, Rust GDB. And also that Rust field. This is for unmangling, and I already see what you cannot really see it. Okay, so this is Rust field. Yeah, unrecognized word because it's a command. Fire code and cool. So it's cool that it's a GDB and not another thing, because I know GDB, I can use GDB, that's fine, cool. Okay, so this I think kinda told me what to use. Now I see on the chat, folks, that, wow, multiple folks actually told me that if there's an exclamation mark, that's going to be a macro. So, okay, let's dive into Hello World in that case. Let's go into this Hello World. I guess I should be like kinda learn to play with cargos, right? So I'm going to go here, and we have print exclamation mark, println exclamation mark. Where is this defined? Because I would really like to take a look at this macro. So, well, the best way to do it is, I know I can compile with Rust C, right? Mine or S, and it compiles, which means I can do strace -f -e trace file, and yeah, let's go. Okay, now what I'm curious about is where does it have the libraries? Okay. These directories don't exist. Where are the Rust directories? Basically, GCC directories. You know what? I'm going to actually... Yeah, it's a totally normal way to learn a language. Come on. Log txt. I could probably Google it, like where does Rust actually have the std. Yeah, I guess I can grab for std. So let's do this. std. Okay, std. So this is like leading me to this directory. Toolchains. What's there? Okay, that's cool. Now I have absolutely no idea what's the compilation Rust lib. Okay. Let's just go to the directory for a second, but I guess I'm going to create a new... Now, I believe what I'm doing is important because the way I usually play with languages is like sooner or later I look at the source code of the libraries, and I'm like, because when I don't understand why a function is failing me, right, I can go and read documentation, but the documentation, you know, can be not updated, can be rather short, and so on and so forth, but sooner or later I always find myself just looking at the source code. So let's go here. And let's do, let's actually go here and let's do rgrep println. Yes, great. Why am I being flooded with JSON files? Come on. Find std maybe? Okay. Oh, there's like a shared doc versus the documentation here. Huh, that's good to know. And that's a lot. Man Rust doc. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. Let's grab through for this and grab for it's a macro, right? So let's grab for macro. Okay, this is not working. Okay, I guess I'll need another approach, but I'm going to make another section for like important directories, and apparently this directory is something I need to explore later. I don't have to do it now, but it might be figure out what's there. So let's rlib. What kind of file is this, by the way? This is an AR archive. Okay, so rlib is the same as lib, basically, just lib. I wonder if macros work, because like this is when my previous knowledge might be an obstacle, actually, because in C and C++ what I'm used to is the preprocessor running on source code, basically, which means that all includes, which include macros, the macros will be in source code form, but might absolutely not be true for Rust. For example, in Rust the macros might have a binary form, which means that me looking for a file which has like this println macro just like shown is pointless. But you know what I can do? I can do how to compile a file with Rust and output macros resolved before compilation. But in GCC that would be -e. Pretty expand. Okay, perfect. Let's see what this does. Pretty expand main rs. Okay, this is apparently a hallucination from ChatGPT, which isn't unusual. Let's try it again. Maybe it will tell me something better. Unstable option pretty expanded. Let's see again. 9rs. No, apparently this either doesn't exist and then ChatGPT is just hallucinating, or yeah. So I will figure this later. So yeah, people say that macros are part of a language and are not preprocessed, which makes sense. That being said, another thing which you can do in C and C++ is you can basically tell the compiler, hey, dump me all the compilation steps. And after each compilation step, you'd see, like, for example, if macros would be part of the language, then there would be one step where the macros are still unresolved and another step where the macros are resolved. So, and that's, by the way, if you're wondering, that's like fdump tree all in GCC, basically was the option. So how to do something similar to in Rust C. Okay, let's try this. if you ever wondered how AI is going to break out of its sandbox and hack us, is exactly this. It will output a command which I'm going to run without thinking too much about it. Okay. Okay, we have things. We have -d cat main.d, which I should have expected. We have main.ll. Cool, this looks cool. Let's take a look. What do we have here? So let's look for... Yeah, this looks like a... It's pretty low level already. It's like... It looks like it's already like after compilation and going into like a step before assembly, basically. So this is too late. This is like, I'm pretty sure, but the macros were already expanded. So print versus print, and I'm pretty sure println doesn't exist because the macro again was already expanded. So I guess look for different prints here, but this is going to be a little bit pointless. Yeah, I think this is like even like just going to be in a different place. So this isn't super interesting. What's all? This is obviously the original command called int focus, and S is going to be assembly. Yeah, this is going to be assembly, which is cool, but this is not what I wanted. However, this is a good lead, so I'm not going to play with it too much now, I guess, but this might come in useful later. What I could do now, so this is for debugging. Fira code, okay, it emits dependency info. This is D, right? Okay, so D is for dependency. Then we have LLVM-IR, which is why I said that this is going to be likely something close to assembly, and then we have S which is assembly. So that makes sense. Now what I would like to do is I would check like Rust documentation Rust C -- emit dep what's dep info. Okay, let's look for this command line. Perfect, this is exactly what I need. Emit. And here we go. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. So let me put this here. Dumping pre-compiled stuff. And there's a link to the documentation. So let me do some reading. You say cargo expand as well. Cargo expand expands macros. Okay, so let's do cargo expand. Let's go here and do cargo expand. Cargo expand. No, maybe I have too old cargo. I do have an old cargo version. So cargo doc, you say open. Let's hope this doesn't. Hey, this is cool. Oh, this builds the documentation for a given package. So if I go main. Okay, so I guess if I would have any documentation, it would be here. That's cool. Cargo -expand, you say on the chat. Command not found. Apt file search cargo expand. Yeah, I might have like a too old version of cargo to be able to use this command. Or is this an Okay, yeah, I believe the problem is that maybe ChatGPT wasn't hallucinating, is that I just have an old version of Rust. So for the next live stream, I'm likely going to install a new version of Rust. So let me do a to-do. It's okay, install the newest version of Rust C and cargo. Unless okay, cargo install cargo expand, unless I can do this. Okay, yes, I really like learning things with 87 people on the chat telling me what I'm doing wrong. This will be better than having like ChatGPT, I think. Well, this is downloading half of the internet. What's going on? Come on. But I can, okay, so what folks just told me is that I need to run cargo install cargo expand. I have no idea if this is installing in the, like, or even if cargo has this concept of like installing a dependency in this directory, similar to what npm install would do. Or is it like npm install globally, meaning installing like for everyone? And also what Heidale is telling me is to run Rust app update to update Rust. And some other people as well. So maybe I can just do this. Okay, failed to compile. Intermediate artifacts can be, this is going well. Cannot build because I have old Rust C. It was -b, right? And I have, yeah, I have all. Okay, so Rust app update. Update is it or upgrade? Update. Okay. Let's go. Okay, Ironbound says that cargo install is globally, like in your home directory. Okay, so it's like Python. It's basically behaving like Python. When I do pip install, it installs for me unless I have a virtual environment. Cool, Rust C-V. It actually worked. Wow, awesome, perfect, thank you. So after this I can do this again. Let's see, oh, if it's going to download. No, it already has the packages, it's just rebuilding them. That's not bad. Tell me if the camera synchronization improved, at least like a little bit. Okay, it improved. Perfect. That's good. Great to hear. Jovan says that first large download was downloading git index for all crates. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Perfect. So, cargo expand. Can I do this now? Ooh. That's cool. But it partially only expanded it, right? Because now I have this format args with another exclamation mark, which is what, another macro. But let's see what's actually going on here. So it has some feature prelude import. Hey, okay, if this is like a, if this is just a macro expansion, let's make a temporary this. And let me do, let's hide the summary for now. Oh, this failed. Perfect. Let's go a bit higher to this hello world. Sub hello world. Okay, and let's see if this is like, if I can use what was shown there directly. Feature prelude import. Okay, no idea what's that. Prelude import. Okay, so I imported a feature, enabled a feature, I guess, and then I used it. Use standard prelude Rust 2021. No idea what this does, but I'm guessing this is like importing namespace. Macro use extern crate standard. I'm using some external crate which is standard. Okay, and then I do the same. The difference is now that I, for whatever reason, have 2 levels of brackets, and I do, I'm guessing like the two colons at the beginning means jump out to the global namespace, then standard in that namespace IO, print, format args, hello world. Now, what I'm curious about is like, okay, then for whatever reason they placed, oh, I know, because this was a macro expansion of print, I had the print ln before, right? Which means that at the end of the macro I had this, so the macro expanded to this, yeah, in C++ you also did the same in macro, so this makes some sense. Now, does this actually compile? Let's go with this, Rust C, hello rs. Okay, it doesn't compile, it complains. std is defined multiple times. I'm guessing there is like... I'm guessing something else is already doing this, which means I likely do not need to do any of this because this is added automatically during compilation. I'm guessing there's also like some thing to do to make Rust not added. Use of unstable library feature print internals. Implementation detail which may disappear or be replaced. Hey, Rust has this. This is amazing. This is like private methods basically, right? But like there's a function which I'm guessing this is what notes that this is a private function, right? And it tells me, hey, don't use it because like yeah, because it's an internal. That's great. That's a really good a feature I like. Like in Python is exact opposite. In Python, like you cannot really hide functions from the programmer. The programmer at the end of the day can use anything. Now the question is like how to use in Rust internal features or internal, maybe show internal cargo build using Rust C internal functions. Okay. Addition. Yeah, I think I would need to switch to another. Okay, but I'm not going to push it. I'm pretty happy of learning this fact, but like it tells me, yeah, don't use it because this is an internal function. You shouldn't use it directly. This is a good tidbit of knowledge. Okay, that's cool. I'm actually impressed. I didn't know Rust had this, and this is actually cool. So expand it to this. There we go. Okay, do I need to make a note on that? No, I think I'm going to remember it. Perfect. Let me quickly look. Ironbound says that I should look at how good the compiler is in pointing mistakes. That's true. This also told me to do this. So let's do this actually. If it proposed to do this, tell me. Okay, unstable feature was used. Hey, a documentation of an error. This is nice. I haven't seen this for years. I remember like Turbo Pascal 25 years ago had something like this. Like I think with error explanations. It had a pretty decent IDE, honestly. Even if it was in text mode, the IDE was pretty good. If you're using a stable or beta version of Rust C, you won't be able to use any unstable feature. Oh wow, okay. That's good to know. I think someone said it on the chat as well. So let's make like commands will be, yeah, let's keep them on top. Important directories, let's keep them here. Various stuff like miscellaneous basically, but I have absolutely, I'm not going to try to spell miscellaneous on the live stream, okay? Yeah, maybe let's phrase it like this. You can't use unstable features in stable with stable beta Rust C. You need a nightly build for that. That makes a lot of sense. If you're using a nightly version, then I can do this. Cool, cool. Okay, so basically that's like a protection so I as a developer don't shoot myself in the foot, which is a really, really amazing thing. Cool, so let's switch to the next topic, which is, I guess I don't need this. I guess I can close this for now. And let's go to my favorite method of learning. Find something online and like transcribe it. And you might be laughing, but like I actually, this is how I learned, right? When I was, there's some funny tidbit of my history, which I probably told a billion times already, but when I was learning programming, I was 6. I could not read. I knew the letters, but I couldn't read the whole word. So I was learning programming by looking at a listing, then finding the proper character on the keyboard, which I observed in the listing, and typing it in. listing was like, it was actually a photocopy of one of the books which I have. And then I tried to experiment with it and figure out what does this code do, because I couldn't read the explanation of what the code or a function does. I just couldn't read, right? It was too small for that. So I basically like transcribed code and experimented with it. So I even like tried something like that. I made that's actually in Polish, was translated to English. Like I had a experiment of like having a code listings to like this one, where people could just like grab this one and like grab the listing as the first step of learning a language and just like type it in. Now the things on the left side which you see here are checksums. So if you would type in the listing, you could then run a tool which would tell you if every line matches the checksum here, or if you made a typo. And the idea behind this isn't to teach you like to claim later was oh this is my program, or like to teach you anything else than to observe the syntax and kinda learn what to expect later on. When you'll be actually learning what does everything mean, you will know that yeah, I observed this already when I was like transcribing this. And what you also spot here is like tiny code patterns. Like for example, this for loop, right? This is like a canonical for loop. You'll be using it forever and ever when writing in C and C++. And you already spot this kind of like canonical form here. So next time if you transcribe like 10 other listings, you will be also able to say that, yeah, like I've seen this piece of code, which I have no idea yet what it does, is like pretty common, right? And then you learn that, oh, for is a loop, and you're, oh, I actually seen how people are using it. So this is the way I'm going to learn Rust at the beginning. I'm basically going to find stuff, likely on GitHub, which is like under an open source license, and I'm going to transcribe it and try to find, like, put the syntax in my head around and like try to kind of familiarize myself with it, try to make some hypotheses, some guesses on what the syntax does. And after I do like 5-10 of like short programs, I will start exploring into like learning what does each of these things do. Some of them I will figure out, some of them I will guess correctly, and some of them I will be absolutely wrong. From time to time I will be also experimenting, like basically like, oh, I transcribed it and it works as like described, but now I want to change it a little bit. And yeah, let's see what we can do with this. So GitHub, as you can see, I was already searching just before the stream. Let's go with BMP parser first. Rust. We obviously need Rust. I do know BMP. I do not. Let's maybe go without this, because I discovered just before the stream was starting that if I go to the docs.rs, I can click source here. And if I click source here, I have already the source of a given library. But furthermore, I can, there's somewhere there was a button, I believe, for my repository. Where was the repository? Here? Yeah, and here repository. There we go. So this is the repository Rust BMP. Now I'm going to, and like absolutely full credit to, what was the license of this? But full credit to the author. I don't know who the author is. Is this the person who is committing? Yeah, probably Sondrele. Sondrele, full credit to Sondre Lev. Sorry, I'm going to try this. Sondre Levsaker, Sondre Levsaker, I guess. I totally apologize for butchering your name, Sondrele. And this is on mid license, which means I can transcribe it. Obviously I will not claim that, yeah, oh, this is a program which I've written, right? But it will help me. So let's do this. What was the command? Cargo new, right? You told me. Sondrele. Just be sure not to mix up the person's name. Sondrele BMP. Cool. Let's go there. Source. We have this main. Okay. And then let's go source. we have 3 files. We do not have a main file because this is a library. But there's probably going to be an example somewhere. So instead of going like, I'm going to keep this, I guess, as is. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to keep the naming because I don't understand yet how the naming in Rust. Maybe there are like some special connections between the name of the file and some statement later on. I don't know that yet. I might be able to observe it. So let's go with const. This is going to be boring, but let's go with constants first. And the rule of this learning method is basically do not copy paste anything. And I am going to break this rule because like these are just color definitions. I'm going to transcribe a few and then I'm going to copy paste the rest. Let me just be sure to credit to be sure that the author is actually credited. I'm not going to obviously publish this on my GitHub. It's just going to stay on my disk. Okay, use pixel. Cool. Is it a pixel phone? I don't know. Public guessing, constant. Alice blue. Pixel. What does this remind me of? Public from C++. Const is obvious. This is in every language. And then we have this syntax with a colon. I'm pretty sure like multiple languages. I think like Python is using this syntax for... I'm pretty sure Python is using this syntax for types and TypeScript as well, I think, right? Now this is the weird part. Oh no, it's not. Okay, so pixel, wow, okay. Pixel, I'm guessing is, it's a name of a module, or is it a name of a module? Maybe it's not a name of a module. I don't know what use does yet. Does it import a module? Does it a module? Whatever, however you say that word. Because here is what I would claim is and calling a constructor. Maybe that's like instantiating a struct. Are there even structs in Rust? I don't know. Okay, apparently because this comma can exist here, the syntax of Rust allows for commas in the end, in the last like element of a container, let's call it, which is cool because like it's annoying when a language doesn't do it. For example, like JSON, the serialization one doesn't allow it, and it's annoying at times, especially when moving data around. Okay, so this looks fine. Let's copy a couple of more, and then let's just do a copy paste. Antique, white. Okay, pixel is the type, then pixel as likely a constructor or something like that. That's a question for later. Wait, I'm like looking at these RGB values. I'm like, hey, this is not white. No, it's not white. This is white, and this isn't even white. This is like yellowish, I guess. Const aqua. I'm guessing but because I have to write this pub here, that means that by default it would not be public. I don't know what does public mean in this case. Is it like in C where there are like compilation units and something is exported or is not exported outside of its compilation units? Or are there like some namespaces? I will have to read about namespaces. I guess this method is like one of the good things about this method is that it also like spawns a lot of questions in my head. Let's go with one more and then switch to a more interesting file. Okay, why would anyone want like constants of colors for BMP parser is beyond me, but maybe that's a Rust thing. I'm pretty sure that's a Rust thing. Absolutely, yeah. Sorry, okay, so yeah, let's, I'm not going to, because this is like repetitive, this would be counterproductive. Is there anything special here? No, this is done in one line, which is like, it does make sense, like there's nothing special about it, I guess, at the end of the day. Yeah, there's like nothing really different, so I'm just going to copy paste everything here. Aquamarine and then Azure. Okay, let's stick with this and then switch to a more interesting file, because I learned something, but I didn't learn a lot. Now let's go with lib. Why do comments start with an exclamation mark? That's a great question, and I don't know. But okay, so there are like some more. This looks like a pragma. It honestly looks like a pragma equivalent from like C++. Pragma would be like an information for the compiler or any other part of a build system to do something in a specific way. I don't know why there's an exclamation mark at the beginning. I don't know why this is in square brackets, but okay. Deny warnings. What does it mean, deny warnings, even? I'm not going to look up stuff in documentation yet. First, I'm going to just transcribe stuff. Okay, then I'm going to copy this comment for reading and writing BMP images. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, I do want to keep this to credit the original author of this file. Now, I'm guessing this is like, maybe Rust has by default, I already saw that Rust generates by default documentation, right? You showed me that command for it. Maybe this is like when you build the documentation, you actually get this as as part of documentation, which would be pretty cool actually. So that's in C and C++, there are obviously like libraries and external tools to do that. I don't remember now, but like there were a couple of libraries with like special syntax. You basically use like special syntax and comments, and you achieved this. If this is built into Rust, that's absolutely amazing. Cool. Okay. Extern crate. So crate is apparently a term not like only related to the. Hey, where's my Rust coloring? Okay, it is there. It's not a term only used by cargo, I guess. Use std convert as reference, I guess. Use std fmt. Does this use std fmt import something to the current namespace? That would be my guess, like same as C++ basically. But well, we'll see how it's actually used. Oh, and I can do a couple of things. Cursor, read, write, use std, path, use std iterator. Okay. Okay, so folks say that, yeah, these are documentation comments. Thank you, Savo. Then this must be placed at the top of the file, which means that if I do this, I guess I would already break it. That's something to check, like does this really need to be placed on the top of the file? But I'll check that later. And these are what? These are additional attributes. Okay. Okay. And pub means, aquatl says that pub means visible outside of a module. Okay, so I guess like what was called in C++ a compilation unit, here is called a module, or maybe not a crate. What's a crate? What's the what's the relation between a crate and module? So that's something I need to figure out later. But makes sense. Okay, cool. So then I'm not going to transcribe comments because like the comments tell me what the code does, but I can just read them, I guess. Expose the coder's public types, structs, and enums. Okay. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to write this. Sorry, the coder's public types, structs, and enums. Okay. Cool. Pub use. Why use is here? The coder be a decoder, but the decoder is probably related to the decoder.rs file. And I'm guessing what I'm doing is bringing these into... I'm probably bringing these into the module and expose them as if these symbols would actually be available from the lib.rs. I don't know if lib.rs has like some special, but was like some special magical name of a file, or maybe it is referenced somewhere else. I'll have to figure that out. But this looks like TypeScript, basically, like modules in TypeScript. This looks pretty similar to what I've seen there. Okay, then we have a macro. Oh, perfect. Macro export. What does macro export rule means? I don't know. Macro rules. Macro rules with an exclamation mark. Macro rules. Perfect. Then expression. Hey, this is like... This looks like part of a compiler. What's going on? Expression. So if I have a px, what it does is pixel. Okay, so I'm guessing this macro is going to... Oh, and as u8, this is a cast, I'm guessing. I wonder if this is like a conversion, a cast, a static cast, dynamic cast? Some other kind of cast, but it looks like some kind of cast. It looks pretty similar to what's happening in TypeScript, but in TypeScript the type calculus is kind of weird because like you change the type which the TypeScript compiler sees for a given thing, but a given thing was never converted to what you said. It's more like you're correcting, this thing is already what you're saying it is when you're just correcting it. And I think that's not the same in Rust. In Rust, it's likely going to be like a cast, I guess. But that's something to figure out later. So I'm grabbing this expression. The interesting thing is, okay, so but I'm guessing the compiler knows that this is a whole expression, right? And therefore this isn't a text replace, so I don't need to make any brackets. This is like, okay, if the macro system is like really working the way I think it's working, this is going to be like super powerful. Then I have another macro rules. Macro rules file size. Okay, let's see. So first I declare... I wonder if this is like... This looks like an arrow function syntax. I wonder if this is typical for macros or this is like some shorthand version of that. BPP, which would be bits per pixel expression with expression and height. Expression. And this, and for whatever reason, I don't know why am I doing two here, like two of these. Is this like some special, does this have some special meaning? Or maybe, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe I can try removing it later and see if everything still works. So header size is, I let header size to be, okay, I don't define the type here. I'm guessing Rust is like, from what I know, Rust is a really strictly typed language. Even more so than C or C++, I guess. Which kind of means that these literals, these integer literals already have some type, which I don't know what the type is, and I'm guessing that whatever the type of the expression is, the const expression here, then the header size is going to be of the same size, which is cool because that means I don't need to write auto, like in C++, in modern C++, I would just write auto header size and this, and it would probably be the same. Let is like in multiple languages. It was in BASIC like 50 years ago. It's in like JavaScript nowadays and TypeScript and so on. So this isn't an uncommon word to be found. Oh, now I use two these. Oh no, this is just because the equation here makes. Yeah. Oh, that's a long equation. It makes use of. Yeah, I thought that has like a special meaning, but no, this is like a normal bracket or other parentheses. So BPP, which is an expression, we treat it as f32, guessing that's float 32, times width as... okay, so this already tells me something interesting. What it tells me is that this has a higher priority as an operator than multiplication. So I don't have to write something like this. If I do a cast in C or C++, it would also have like a pretty high priority. So it's like, it's similar. So that tells me already something about the order of operators, which are when you compile stuff, then you actually build a tree, right? And then to build a tree, you kind of need to know what are the priority of the operators. Okay. Yeah, so I was looking for a chat at the moment. Hidale says that Rust macros are super powerful, but also super complicated when starting with Rust. Yeah, I believe in that. Okay. Sebel says that as is kind of like static cast, with some exceptions. For example, when casting not a number into an int, it is not undefined behavior, or it uses min-max value when overflowing. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So for static dynamic casting, that's a question from Ido. Static versus dynamic casting, meaning the static will be compiled to the binary while dynamic will happen each time in memory. So, okay, when it comes to like casts, there are like there are like a couple of types basically in C. There are casts which you can do with, which the compiler does immediately. Like there isn't even any code for that. It's just like there isn't any code for that which is generated because the compiler can just do the cast. Like for example, if you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, which is an integer, and if you cast that to a short, then the compiler just going to do that compilation time, right? No code is generated. Then you have types of casts which are like super easy. For example, if you cast an unsigned integer into a like U8, which would be an 8-bit integer, that's like a trivial one assembly instruction which just like grabs 1 byte of a 4-byte, otherwise 4-byte variable, and that's it, right? So that's a super simple, maybe we can still call it a cast, and then things go into the realm of conversion, where you really need to do some code, for example, converting a float to an integer, but a little bit more math. And that still might be one instruction on assembly side, right? But that's a way more complicated instruction. For casting pointers between types, by the way, like if you have like pointer of this type and pointer of another type, this is mostly done compilation time. The only sole exception is when you start dealing with classes with inheritance, especially multiple inheritance and virtuals and like vtables and so on. This is where we move into the realm of dynamic casting, where the compiler might even sometimes complain that, yeah, like you cannot really complain runtime, but you can really cast this into that, or get like a null as a result of a pointer cast. So yeah, it's like there are like types of casts. And then we could also talk about conversions, like, well, what is a cast still and what is an actual conversion, like the floating point to integer might be a conversion, a string to an int would be a conversion, absolutely. But like casting between pointer types, for example, would be just a simple cast at the end of the day. That being said, likely every programmer you ask will have a little bit of a different definition of what they say is a cast and a conversion, and maybe will use it interchangeably. So yeah, don't quote me. Or at least when you quote me, don't tell like where I live, okay? Thank you. Perfect. .floor, wait, what? Why am I... Okay, so this is a syntax which I would expect from Python, from JavaScript, which I wouldn't expect from C++ like language. And Rust is like in my head, it's still like a low-level language. But if I I have an expression. This is an expression, right? And the expression at the end of the day will get me, will have a certain type. I guess F32 is going to be the type of this expression. I'm actually pretty curious, like, what is the type of this? Is this F32 or is this like F64? Because in C++, this would be a double. This would be an F64, I believe, what in Rust would be treated as F64. But apparently this is going to be F32. Anyway, at the end of the day, there is some method which is defined on a basic type, and this surprises me, and that's not bad actually. I'm fine with that, but it does surprise me. And when I do a cast, I convert this to a 32-bit unsigned integer, which spawns the question, what's going to happen if this is going to be a negative value? What's going to happen if this is going to be not a number? Questions to answer later. Okay, and I multiply it by 4. Cool. And then what I do is something I absolutely do not understand. What's going on here? I put as the last line an expression. This is an expression, right? In parentheses, arrows, which creates a tuple, a pair, and does nothing with it? Is this like one of the languages where the last expression defined is returned? There's a group of languages which does that. Is Rust like that? But like the last thing which I put in a function is actually what's going to be returned? How does return work in such case for when you exit early? Or is this typical for macros? Yeah, these are some questions I will need answers to later, sooner or later. But that's like, that's curious. And there is no semicolon. It's not that I'm blind. Okay. That's return. That's what folks say. Yeah, the last value is returned. Okay. Okay, cool. So speaking of return mechanisms, the one which I always found pretty fun was in Pascal, in Turbo Pascal and Delphi, is you returned stuff by assigning it to the function. So as in, like, if the function was called ASDF, then what you did is ASDF colon equal, because that was assignment in Pascal, and then the returned value. And you could do it at any point and you could change it, but at the end of the day, the last thing which dynamically last thing was assigned to the function name was returned, which was also kind of not really intuitive. Still better than like Atari Basic, where you that's a different class of languages actually. So yeah, okay, that's curious. Perfect, perfect. No semicolon also. That's good to know. That is not a mistake. Pub mod const. Absolutely no idea what this means. Okay, mod decoder. Mod module? Mod encoder. It strikes me that, like, apart from the macro rules, whatever, like, Rust is using really short names like U32, F32, expr, let, mod, pub, which is cool for typing. Like, you don't have to type that much. It's not like Java. So, okay. Then we have derive. Derive. I don't know what this does. Clone, copy, debug, equal, partial equal. No idea. Struct, pixel. It's basically after I copy a couple of these things, right? Like a couple of these projects, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start writing in my notes every weird thing which I find. And then I'm going to go through documentation and figure out, like, what am I looking for? Okay, here is a structure. Pub, I guess, is a public field, meaning that structures likely have non-public fields as well, which is like in C++ actually, but there you have to use the keyword private. I wonder if this is like, I can optionally put this here, or do I actually need to put this here, because that's also interesting. Implementation pixel. Okay, what am I implementing here? Am I implementing Is this an interface declaration? Is it like this? But this is an interface declaration, and this is the implementation of an interface, or something compatible with that interface. That's curious. Or is it just like a declaration, and this is a definition in terms of C++? G U8, B U8, and then okay. So new, I'm guessing new is like a constructor, unless this is just a method named new for whatever reason, like a factory, for example. It might be a factory. Fn means function. Yeah, it might not be a special name after all. So okay, and this is again the last thing, which is in a function. Oh, and no, so this is going to be a factory, I'm guessing. A factory being a function which is usually a static function inside inside the class, which constructs the class and like returns the object of that class. Sometimes it's more convenient to use a factory than a constructor only. Okay, so Michał says that it's actually a function which is building a structure. Jovan says no, pixel is a structure. An implementation structure would create functions that are from pixel structure. So static would be pixel function, or self functions where you have pixel.rgba, for example. Okay, no idea. Yeah, today I don't understand Polish. No, it's fine. Don't worry. If you don't speak English well, but you would like to give me a hint, you can absolutely do it in either Polish or German, and I will understand it. More in Polish than in German, but I'm getting there. Okay, another implementation of format display for. What does this mean even? Format display. Is this like the defining repr, like representation function or method in Python? That would be cool. That would be way better than what C++ tried to do with like off-stream like friends and stuff. Let's not go over. Let's not talk about that. What makes me sad. FMT. Okay, self with an ampersand. So this is just something new. Self like in Python. Self, like do I have to actually say this explicitly? Interesting. Or maybe wait, because no, I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, mutable, I'm guessing, formatter. And I'm guessing this is a reference. So a reference to a mutable formatter. And this is supposed to return, again, the arrow syntax, which is cool because I'm familiar from JavaScript with arrow functions. And then there's a macro called write, which I run on this mutable formatter, and I give it RGB, and this looks like a typical format, like the... there was a point in time when both like C++ and Python got these types of formats, which I never really liked and never really used. And then in Python we moved into F strings, which are actually amazing. And yeah, and C++ is still C++. Okay, so this looks like typical formatting, I'm guessing. So I'm guessing what the... Oh, no semicolon, because this is a return value, right? Okay, cool. Okay, then we have format upper hex for pixel. Okay. And what's going on here? So we do a function. I don't understand this yet. Self f a reference to a mutable formatter again. And I return a result. FMT result is FMT result. What is that even? Is that like an STD optional or something similar? but it can be returned, or maybe none can be returned. Oh, and then we get, yeah, F formatting. This formatting isn't terrible. It is actually pretty similar to F strings, but like, at least in like this syntax, apart from this colon here, this would be, no, well, actually even with the colon here, this is like Python's F strings, which is cool, because that's pretty similar. Now, if you're wondering what am I going to do, wait, uppercase. If you're wondering what I'm going to do later after I finish, like, you know, after I finish this transcribing part and later on, one thing I really want to do is I want to do code golfing, because like when I start to get familiar with the syntax a little bit more, what I will want to do is I want to do a couple of code golf challenges, because there's like literally nothing that teaches you syntax and weird features in a language better than code golfing. So we'll have to go there as well. Okay, and then implementation, lower hex. Okay, this is like a little bit lower. So let me try to write this just using what I have already on my screen. So lower hex for pixel, and then I do function fmt. I do this weird reference to self, mutable formatter, and then I return a result, format result to be more exact. That's a format result, not a std result. Yeah, okay. And then I do this, basically the same thing, but yeah, this just means like lowercase hex to nibbles. If you ever wondered what's the name, how do you call a hexadecimal digit, that's a nibble, apparently. Self R, self G, self B. So hey, can I, like, does this mean that I can actually like implement, no. So these are like, what, are these like friend functions or something, like from, like, kind of similar concept, maybe? I don't know yet, but implement something for something is an interesting concept. That's for sure. Okay, when we do another derive thing, clone, debug, are these like properties of a class or something, like, or of an object maybe? Like clone sounds like you can do assign to like one object another object of the same type, maybe. Like basically to clone an object. Equal and partial equal kind of sounds that you can do. You can use the equal operators, like equal not equal operators on it. This is how I'm starting to understand this, and understand is the bad word here, because I do not understand what I'm doing, is I'm like guessing right now. 2, 3, 3 and T, 4, 5. Why does enum have this derive is beyond me, but at least enums look really similar to C++. They don't have a semicolon here though. Derive is a type of macro, but paradox.pl says you can use it to generate additional code basing on code after derive. Okay, this kinda looks similar, but a little bit better than in C++. In C++, when you create a function, a class, you actually get some parts of that class, like some methods of that class, some operators for that class are going to be auto-generated. And if you don't want a given type of a method to be generated, you have to do really weird stuff, especially in older versions of C++. And if the reverse is true in Rust, that like you create like some enum or some class and you actually have to define which of the methods you want generated, that like from a security point of view, from, you know, defensive coding, that's actually pretty cool. Okay, implementation, bitmap version, BMP version. That's an implementation related to that enum, I guess. And we add a function from dip header. Or is it a method? Or is it a function? Or is it a method? I don't know. Or I don't know. Or maybe it's a static. But it gets, in any case, it gets a reference to a BMP dip header. And what I'm don't see here, but I saw here was this mut, which kind of means that if it's not mutable, is it going to be constant? Is it constant? That's what I'm going to assume for now. So option BMP version, option BMP version. Is this STD optional? Like returning, either returning BMP version or returning like non-undefined nothing, whatever it's called. And then we do a match. Okay, what's a match? Match header size. Is that a switch? Is it like closer to a switch case in a lot of languages, or is it closer to match from Python, which is like a switch case on steroids, I guess? Okay, these like constants which you see here, if anyone has ever written a BMP parser, you're familiar with these constants. These are like basically, so it's like this BMP format as a bitmap format, as an image format, has multiple versions. And the funny thing is that there is no version field which would tell you what's the version. But there is like in one of the structures, in the first structure of the bitmap, what you have is you have the size of the next structure, I think. Or like the next structure has a size of itself, something like that. And based on that size, you can determine which version it likely is. And I see, so well, the syntax here is going to be weird in a sec. So we do some BMP version. What am I looking at? What's some? Is this going to be returned, by the way? Wow, this is weird. Okay, 40 if dip header 40 if. Is this like a reverse reverse if, like in Python and Perl? Some 3 and t. Okay, what's going on in this line? 40 if I don't understand this line. Is it like match 40 and then we go with an additional condition, which is if dip header compressed type is 3, then I return some version 3 and t. And then we have another 40, which I guess would be a fallback here option for 40s. And we do with BMP version 3 here. Okay. Okay. I see a comment from Disconnected that macros in Rust are cursed because like they can sometimes grow, what people create can sometimes grow into thousands of lines of code. But like that's not that much different, right, from some C++, not macros, but templates. Like, templates are ridiculous. BMP version 4. And then I have 1 to 4, which is like some BMP version 5. There we go. And oh, and then there's like this thing. Is this just a default, basically? Like default none. Okay, this is the construction here is pretty curious. I don't fully understand it, but I can already appreciate the like how flexible is the syntax of Rust. It's like, so there some of you might have already written in Perl. Perl has probably one of the most flexible syntaxes of any programming language I saw. And when I was writing at my university a lot of code in Perl. Currently, I don't remember almost anything, but I was writing a lot of code in that language, and I knew it pretty well. And the thing is that the syntax there was so flexible that I really wanted to use it. It made writing really simple. I could like express my thoughts in like really short compressed version. After a week reading that same line, which I've written, the beautiful compressed ones, I had no idea what's going on there. I hope Rust didn't go to such extremes. But so far, it doesn't look bad. Cory tells me that, yeah, like this could be split basically into, or expressed as 40, then if dip header compressed type is free, then free_nt, else free, which is how I interpreted it, but the syntax here is a little bit alien to me. Okay, as reference to a string. Implementation as reference to a string for BMP version. I'm guessing, like in Python, I would say that this is the str method in a class. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Okay, what I'm curious about is why am I using this asref? I saw that it is like from here, from like convert asref. This is used from some other namespace, right? Why am I using this instead of some like ampersand? Like here, ampersands are used. Ampersand is a reference. Why cannot I use an ampersand here? I don't know. Another question. So many questions, so few answers. Okay, I'm guessing I'm just getting a self here, and I'm returning. Oh, here I can use a reference. Okay. I match to. What does asterisk do here? Is it just like in same in C++? I get a reference and I dereference it? That doesn't make sense. Why would I dereference a reference? Okay, I don't know. Version 2 is BMP version 2, and I'm going to do this free NT 4 5, and this is free NT 4 5. Okay. Copy pasting is cheating, but I didn't copy paste from the listing. I copy pasted from my code, which is fine. That's allowed. Derive clone. Oh, again, clone debug. I wonder what this debug means. Is this like? Oh, maybe it's debug prints. Hey, that would be cool actually. Partial equals. Okay. Enum compression type. Okay, and then we have an enum with typical compression types. Yeah, it's either uncompressed. It's run length encoding 8-bit, run length encoding 4-bit. Only for BMP version for bit fields encoding. The compressions in BMP are amazing. One of the versions I think of BMP had PNG as an encoding, but there was a trick to it, as in like I don't think any viewer could actually view it, but internally, if you communicated on Windows with because on Windows the BMP structures like dip structures and so on are actually used sometimes to communicate with a graphical interface if you're operating on a rather low level, and I think you could create such a BMP in memory that would actually use PNG compression internally, like embed PNG, honestly, and that could printer drivers like the spooler of Windows, I think, could understand that. I think that's why you can find PNG as a compression type in some BMP specifications, but you never see a file like that with BMPs. Okay, what am I doing? I'm learning Rust. And to learn Rust, I am at the first day of learning Rust, and I'm learning using my methods. And my method is to transcribe code which is written in Rust and try to make some hypothesis. And then I will transcribe like through a couple of next live streams, which are going to happen in the next days. I'm going to transcribe even more code, which is going to be absolutely uneventful and yeah, not really fun to watch. But the whole idea for me here as a person learning Rust is that I can get familiar with the syntax and get familiar with typical patterns which I see in the code. And I can form hypotheses, which I will later check and verify. Or I can form like proper questions to ask. And then later when I go through like documentation of the language or tutorials or whatever, I will kinda know what questions to ask every time. And when I'll see some statement in the documentation, for example, I will know where to put it into the model, the Rust model, which I'm building in my head while doing this. Yeah, my methods of learning are weird. I'm sorry. But I don't think this is a bad method, honestly. I am cheating a little bit, having, you know, a lot of programming experience, but that's fine. Much val, but not in Rust, right? Again, I am starting literally from scratch today with Rust. Bit, then we have compression type, RLF4 bit. If you actually speak Polish and you like BMP file format, then tomorrow is a live stream in Polish, which is going to be about BMP file formats, basically. And if you're interested in like learning how to deal with file formats with like with hex editors and all that, like get a specification, decode a file, write a parser, then my company will actually be doing trainings for that. And in English they will be announced a little bit later. In Polish they are already announced. If you go to hexarcana.pl, you can find the trainings already announced, and they will happen in next month, like start happening next month. Yeah, as time progresses, like we'll be doing more and more trainings. Hey, maybe like next year I'll be competent enough in Rust, like to start reaching slowly a really like advanced level or senior level or expert level, maybe even, depending on how much I will actually use it in daily work, and maybe I can do some trainings with that. That'd be fun. Like even, you know, maybe not Rust trainings, but just trainings with using Rust. That'd be fun, yeah. Because usually like the language of choice for trainings in security is Python, because like obviously it's a really good language. But I know a lot of people in security switched already to Rust. That's one of the reasons I want to learn it as well. I don't think this language is going anywhere. More and more people are using it. I'm usually a little bit behind the curve when it comes to new languages, because like maybe the language will stick, or maybe it will go away after a couple of years, just having like, you know, like there would be like dozens of programmers instead of hundreds of millions using that language. So yeah, I didn't. That's why I didn't jump on the Rust bandwagon at the beginning. But now it's pretty clear that yeah, this language is to stay with us. Like I think Google, for example, some weeks ago posted a blog post on the security team's blog about like what work they did on to be able to use Rust internally. Then there's like Linux kernel is starting to use Rust. Like yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'm pretty happy that we are getting a C++ replacement finally. I'm looking at Rust a little bit like a C++ replacement. I love C++, okay, but it's not a simple language. Like you really have to make a PhD in that language to be able to code in it correctly. And I don't, maybe PhD is not even enough. I still catch myself after like, what, 20 years of C++ coding experience, including security knowledge related to that language. I still find myself sometimes doing stupid mistakes, or like learning something new because the language is just so complicated. So yeah, I'm going to kind of like in a couple of weeks be able to finally decide for myself, is Rust really that much better? Or are we looking for yet another language which we need, like Rust 2.0? I know there are like a couple of other languages which are pretenders, or like Go is one, Google Go is the one, for example, or Golang, yeah, which last time I touched it in 2009, and yeah, I know that there are people who like it, and I know there is like some stuff actually written in it, but I'm not sure it's getting as much popularity as Rust nowadays. But maybe it has reached the critical mass required. There might be like some stuff like Zig, V, and some other things. I did not look at these languages yet. They're like in the territory of like a little bit too new for me to look at them, to spend time on them yet. I would prefer like to use the same time I have to specialize like a little bit dive deeper in another language. Yeah, I am a little bit tired, which you can hear by my English not really always working. BMP header, okay. What's going on here? I'm defining another implementation, a function. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, I can type apparently without thinking what I'm typing, and this is not the point of the exercise. I need to think what I'm typing. Okay, unused. 2.0. I'm creating a new BMP header, which I guess should be indented a little bit better. I wonder if, like, does the compiler complain about indentation? Okay, so I create file size is that field you should not trust in BMPs. I understand why we are like putting it there, but yeah, a parser should never trust that field. Okay, then we do derive clone debug equals partial equal. I'm going to, I think, call it a day in like a few more functions, and then restart it on Friday afternoon, I think. I'm going to do, like for folks who came later, like in the second part of the stream, I'm going to do a little bit more frequently streams while I'm learning Rust, because I want to compress the time which I'm using to learn Rust into a lot. Okay, stream is in terrible quality. That's funny. Yeah, oh yeah, I see, something broke. Let's see what I can do about it. I'm going to restart the stream, be right back. Okay, last time this helped. Let's see if this helped as well now. I see that maybe it helped. Yeah, I think it helped. Perfect. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you, Foxtrot. Perfect. Okay, let's continue then with a few more things. So we have another structure. This one is the header. We start with the header size, which is a unsigned integer 32 bits with I32. Actually, like the first person I saw using such short names was years ago, some code by El Kamtaf, when he was like coding in C. He did just like defines to not use the uint 32_t, but rather just use these short names. So it like reminded me of that code. Compress type U32, data size U32, horizontal resolution integer 32-bit vertical resolution. I wonder what I'm curious is when we will come to loading this from a file, is every field going to be loaded separately, or is there going to be some magic happening like in C where you just like where you can define a struct, especially using pragma pack or like attribute packed, and then just load it like in one fread the whole structure from the file, which isn't the greatest thing in all world, okay? Because there are issues with that, especially with saving stuff. It like you can leak data, you can leak a lot of data. But hopefully, which kind of means that hopefully Rust doesn't have this. Do I need a semicolon? Sorry, a comma here. Yeah. As in plain, right? Long time lurker. When I tried this year's Google CTF and got murdered. Yeah, Google CTF is a really, really hard CTF. It's one of the hardest CTFs during the year. That's why Beginner's Quest should be out like in soonish, or maybe it already happened, I don't know. When I saw you were the author of quite a few of them, not this year. I didn't make any challenges this year. I did because I already left Google by the time the challenges were being prepared and tested. So yeah, so what happened after I left Google, but the previous ones, yeah, there were quite a few of challenges which I made either for Google CTF, for Google CTF Finals, which is Accelerate, or for Beginner's Quest as well. There was 1 year when I had like 8 challenges in Beginner's Quest, I think. BMP dib header. Okay, so now we implement stuff for this structure, which I'm guessing is like method implementation by now. We make new. I still don't know if new is I don't think this is a constructor. I think this is a factory. I'm leaning towards this interpretation. BMP dib header. Yeah. I wonder how many like syntax errors do I have while typing. Okay, there's apparently Corridu says that there's apparently some hash square brackets repro C that could allow laying out the structure in memory more like you do it in C, which is interesting. Okay, let and I apparently Rust has some kind of destructuring of fields. Same like modern C++, I guess, finally, but also like Python or like JavaScript, which is cool. I do like the structuring. I use it from time to time. Do note that I am kinda coming from times, right, where like you might take these features for granted, right? But the first programming language which I started with didn't have return as a statement. You had to use global variables to return stuff. There was no return. You couldn't return a value. You could return from a subroutine, but you couldn't actually return a value with that. You had to use global variables. So yeah, so you might be like looking at me and like, what is he happy about? Like this is a standard in every language, right? But yeah, not from where I learned programming, from when I learned programming, I guess. So I might be too enthusiastic about some features. Typo, perfect. Adrian says typo, line 84. Version, BMP version, line 84. Wait, what? 84. This was a year ago. BMP version. Or is it 184? No, I didn't get to 184 yet. Where is the version which isn't BMP version? Ah, here. Wait, well spotted, thank you. BMP. Thank you, Adrian, perfect. Ironbound, go to 10. Yeah, there was go sub as well for, and you had return as a command to return to from where this go sub was called. That being said, this is a typo, of course. Yeah, that being said, you had to use global variables. How about typo in line 13? Cursor. Thank you, Hefi. And typo in line 71. You folks are amazing. Clone, debug, partial, what's E? Oh, EG, EQ, equal. Equal, that's Hidale, thank you very much. And cursor also fixed. Yeah, there we go. Height, num, planes, just one plane, bits per pixel 24. Compress, type 0, data size, pixel. I guess you don't see this, what I'm typing. And I'm good, you don't see this. Pixel array size href. Okay, somebody just like is like, yeah, like I don't care about defining physical resolution, let's just put 1000 there, whatever. I don't blame them. It's like this information here is used only when you're printing a bitmap. And when creating a bitmap, especially like you have to kind of put something there, but like whatever you're going to put there is going to be wrong anyway, and whoever is actually like using this library needs to define what's the translation ratio between the size of a pixel and the size of the physical resolution, basically. This is like, you know, pixels per inch or DPI, which is like dots per inch. Okay, the image type provided by library, it exposes functions to initialize or read BMP images from disk. The image is accessed row major order from top to bottom, where .00 is defined to be upper left corner of the image, which is pretty funny. By default, by the way, BMPs are written upside down. And there is a funny reason for that related to the OS/2 operating system, where for whatever reason they decided that .00 is supposed to be the point at the bottom left point on the screen, which is really weird, right? Because like we are used to, but yeah, 00 was like top left corner of an image, but they decided the opposite, and for whatever reason it was like decided that like BMPs, if they are written upside down, then it makes it a little bit easier to operate in this with that. There was like a post, I think, on Raymond's Chen blog, Old New Things. I guess you can look it up if you're interested in like history and like why are we having to deal with this. Okay, let's do. How long is the next implementation actually? It's not super long, so I'm going to do one more implementation. I'm going to call it a day, and I'm going to continue on Friday. We don't have debug here. Okay, header is a BMP header, dip header is a BMP dip header, color palette is an option. It doesn't have to be defined. And vector, vec is vector of pixels. An optional vector of pixels. Cool. I don't hate it. Padding. Why do we have padding as? Oh, right, because a scan line in BMP has to be padded to 4 bytes. Yeah, speaking of steganography, you can hide something there. If you have like a misaligned scanline size and then when it has to be padded, it says that padding has to be zeros, but you can actually hide data there. And then data vec pixels. It's a vector of pixels. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Debug is, Corey says that debug is actually recursive. So if it can be only defined if all members also have debug. Okay. So I guess if like vector or option, why is it option, not optional? But okay. I guess like falls into, why is it not OPT there then in that case? Because like apparently Rust likes three letter things, so why is it not OPT but option? Anyway, so yeah, apparently these might not have the debug defined. Cool. Okay. Then we have okay. Wait. It has documentation. Returns a new BMP image. Okay, so this is a factory. Yeah, this is a factory. Absolutely, this is how you use a factory. Perfect. So this is not a constructor. I'm guessing a constructor would be named just image. If Rust even has constructor, does Rust have constructors, or are we like playing only with? But like there was some macros somewhere at the beginning which kind of looked like a constructor, right? But maybe it only looked like a constructor. Okay, never mind. Maybe Rust only has factories, which I'm not sure how I feel about. But maybe that's like me misinterpreting what I'm seeing. Like maybe somebody just likes factories and they like the offer was using factories, therefore I don't see any constructors, therefore like survivor bias, right? I'm being exposed to survivor bias. Okay, Corridu says no constructors per se. Okay. But they have literals. Okay, this is going to be an interesting read once I start going into the detail. I guess I'm going to have to unlearn some concepts for Rust. Wait, what? I'm transcribing the wrong line. Good. Mutable data. This is like, I don't know, there aren't a lot of mutable stuff. With capacity. Is capacity like capacity? There's like a difference between size and capacity in C++ containers. A capacity is like, a size is like what's the actual size of a vector, and the capacity is how much memory was allocated for it. So you could allocate like a lot of memory but have a really small vector, and then when you add to it, then it just uses the capacity which was already allocated, which is faster than reallocating the whole memory, the whole vector all the time. It's still like, I know it's optimized, but like, yeah, maybe this with capacity factory is actually what the same capacity which I have in mind. Okay, oh, a for loop. For underscore, like in Python, meaning that I'm going to likely ignore it. 0 to, is this like in Ruby? I think Ruby had a similar for loop. If I like it, I honestly like it, that's cool. Data push pixel macro, which we defined at the top. Okay, so we are basically initializing the BMP with black, color black. That's fine. Yeah, I like it. I'm missing this syntax in Python. I would really like this instead of doing, you know, in range, blah, blah, blah. Header size, data size equals file size 24 with height. Header size, data size is width and height. I don't get it. Wait, what? This is, okay, BMP header, this is like header size plus data size, right? And here later I'm going to give it header size and I'm going to give it data size. And the data size is going to be what file size returns. And file size, by the way, I'm missing this here. And file size returns... Oh no, here it is. Here is what I was looking for. I was like, are they actually taking that padding which I just described into consideration? Yeah, they are. They are doing it here. But that's not a good way to calculate that padding. That being said, I also said already that that field, like, yeah, like the field related to size is like, we can ignore it because like nothing should ever read it. Because like security, but it goes like about, like there's this rule in security in general about like, if you shouldn't have redundancy of important data, because then if you have redundancy, like you have, for example, two fields which say the same thing, right? Like one might say in a different way a little bit, but like still the same thing, then later you risk that one part of the system is going to use one field and the other part of the system is going to use the second field. And here we have this redundancy between what the file system says about the file size of a BMP, and what the file size field in BMP says. So if they mismatch, it could lead to funny things. Now, I don't like this because this is operating on floats, and operating on floats is funny and finicky. That being said, this is fine, because what they are doing is they are operating on integer values and powers of 2, which means that in case of floats, they will get a precise result. So I'm guessing they don't even have to, no, they have to do floor because they need to get rid of they have to get rid of the padding, but it's a little bit weird of a calculation. I need to check it later, like the math on it. But using floating point there is not the issue. It's not an issue. That's what I was going after. Should be fine. Yeah, floating point, like thinking if a floating point expression is going to give you a precise result, or if it's going to start yielding errors, is an really interesting exercise. And if you understand floating points, then you can you can like look at some obvious telltales. Like here I looked at whether they are using integers, because integers are in general, until some range, until a really high integers, they are represented accurately for floats. Then when you get to certain range, they stop, but until certain range. And also, every number which can be expressed by a sum of powers of 2, including negative powers of 2, can be represented okay in a float. For example, if you have 0.25, This is 2 to the power of -2. And this is, yeah, this can be represented, okay, in a float. But if you have like 0.1, for example, you cannot represent this as a binary float precisely. There are like mathematical reasons why you cannot do it. It actually gives you an infinite like a pattern of 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, blah, blah, blah. Like it isn't necessarily 0, 1, 1, but a pattern is basically infinite. And and because floats are finite, like they have only, what, 23 bytes for mantissa, right? Then like you cannot put an infinite number of bits for that, therefore you lose precision on that already. And another thing is when you divide by a power of 2, 32 is the power of 2, of course, then this is just shifting bits, but in case of a float, that's not even that, that's just changing the exponent field in the float. So yeah, so like if you kind of know how floats work, you can take a look at an expression and kind of start guessing whether the expression is going to be fine and not yield any errors. And then that might make a difference or might not make a difference. Sometimes you don't care about errors, right? Floating points are fun. I really like floating point units. And if you're interested in AI, then the modern AI, there's like quite a lot of research papers about people experimenting with different floating point formats for both like compression sake, but also to sometimes they think they work better in certain models. So if you like floats like me, that's like these are good times to live in. Okay, sorry, digression. Finishing this. Header. But I guess you would be bored with me just like typing code, so I don't mind digressing from time to time. Header size and data size. Okay, dip header, BMP dip header. You know what? I'm going to make a link to this. Like to do. I have this already done, so continue from here next time. There we go. Thankfully, I can on GitHub link to a specific line, but I'm going to finish that part. So new width as I32, height as I32. Now, I don't know why widths in BMPs can be negative, but if the height in BMP is negative, that means that the BMP is actually top to bottom. If it's positive, it's actually bottom to top. And there is like a funny mistake that programmers implementing BMP parsers in C make. Mainly they take the absolute value of height and assume it's positive. And which like sounds like it should make sense, right? Like if you take an absolute value of a negative number, you get a positive value or a 0 if it was a 0, right? Or if it's a positive number, you get a positive number. Now that's not true. Actually, in the 32-bit integers, there is one number, exactly one number, which if you use a typical absolute value function or change sign function, like minus variable, for example, or variable times -1 or variable divided by -1, right? Like just a typical sign change, then you arrive at the same negative number, which is kind of funny. That's something I'm going to later start checking in Rust, like how does it react to these typical errors which we make in C, C++. Okay. Height, width, and what's there? Because I don't see it. No, that's it. Okay, color palette. None, perfect, none. So none is apparently a keyword. I'm guessing this from the syntax highlighting here. But it's hey, I can double click on it. Today I learned. I didn't know I can double click on listings on GitHub. Huh, okay, cool. This reminds me of like JavaScript. When you do stuff like that in JavaScript, there's also syntax where you just do width. And that's it. And this would do exactly what's going on here. And I like that syntax. And I think it's in JavaScript. Maybe it was in TypeScript. Padding, width. I also need to later check, like, how does Rust behave with negative modulos, because there are two groups of languages which do it like mathematically differently. And you can arrive at two different, like for example, if you do like, I think 5 modulo -2, you can arrive at two different results. One would be negative and the other positive. Both of them make sense mathematically if you think about modulo in a different way. Okay, and this is where I stop today and continue from here. So, thank you for being here on this absolutely exciting stream with me. I was learning Rust today, and I will be continuing learning Rust through the next weeks, but from time to time I will also make a different topic. So, at the end of the day, what I hope to arrive at is I hope to be proficient enough with Rust that I can like code no issues, like no problems, without looking all the time at the documentation or like asking ChatGPT what to fix. So yeah, I'll continue with transcribing this app next time, and maybe I will finish it depending on how much code is left. And then I will start like debugging it, because I'm pretty sure I made some typos, and I'm pretty sure you pointed them out on the chat, and I'm pretty sure I didn't look at the chat to actually fix it. So that's pretty fun, actually. I'm looking like my first impressions after a day of of transcribing code, right? Rust is a really good state. Like, the tools are pretty amazing. On top of that, they're like apparently a lot of features, language features, which are pretty cool, and the macros seem to be pretty powerful. So I'm looking forward to actually starting to understand what's going on here. Would I rather Rust syntax be more like TypeScript? TypeScript, I mean, the syntax at the end of the day is different, but it's not that different. I'm not sure if like forcing the same, maybe a little bit. For now, I'm pretty confused with like what's impl, what's like struct, and so on. And I'm a little bit more familiar with how TypeScript does classes, for example, because TypeScript is using basically the same way JavaScript did classes, or like C++ or Java are using classes. Like it's almost the same syntax, and Rust is actually doing something else, which I don't hate, honestly. I'm curious to where we will go with this. Cargo is pretty cool as well. Yeah, I have a pretty good impression. Let's see. Let's see how it goes further. So thank you. Yeah, I think Rust is OOP. It looks like to me it's OOP. Like, that's what I would say for now. That being said, I see only like, well, I see structures, and I see that the structures have methods being defined. So for now, I would see, yeah, this is at least like the basics of object-oriented programming. Now, whether it has like all the features, like which features of object-oriented programming does it have? I don't know. I'm just learning Rust, right? It might have like weird stuff like abstracts interfaces like Java. It might have like multiple inheritance like C++. It might have like some other stuff like Python. So we are going to see. I'm curious. I don't know yet. But at some point after I, get the basics, I will start testing Rust for different features, which I know from other languages, so we'll get there. Awesome. So thank you, folks, for being here with me. Thank you for pointing out the typos which I make. Have a great evening, and I still do not have an ending music theme, which kind of means that the stream is going to cut off like suddenly. Thank you to Foxtrot Charlie for being here as my moderator, and also for Disconnected, who jumped in for a moment as a moderator. And yeah, see you tomorrow on the Polish live stream, and Friday likely afternoon-ish European time for the next Rust stuff, basically. It's going to be likely, I'm not going to put it in the calendar, I'm just going to suddenly pop it on, or I'm going to put it in the calendar kind of last minute, the moment I know that I can make the stream. So thank you, folks. Thank you, everyone. Take care, have a great evening, and that's it. Bye-bye.